Good afternoon and welcome back to Sports Call on this Tuesday afternoon. 888-3401 is our number, or 1-888-9-TIGER-9. We're going to hold the calls this segment and welcome in a very special guest, a man that really doesn't need an introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. A longtime sports writer for the state in the state of Alabama, longtime beat writer for Auburn University, and now working at auburntigers.com. Phillip Marshall. Phillip, thanks so much for being on the program today.
Good to be here. Thank you.
All right. Let's just kind of run the gamut of Auburn. A lot going on. Obviously, Auburn just finishing up spring football, having their A-Day, 70,000 people showing up, a tremendous showing. It just seems like the program is careening toward another outstanding season under the leadership of Gus Malzahn. Just give us your impressions of maybe where the program is and where it's headed, what we can truly expect next year.
I think this obviously a team with lots of weapons and lots of guys that have proved they can compete and win at a high level, and I think they'll be better at most positions. Certainly, having an experienced quarterback with talent like Nick Marshall is huge, and I think they've got a great chance to have a great year. But of course, the thing you also have to remember is so does LSU, and so does Alabama, and so do lots of Georgia, and lots of other teams in the SEC. It's to have a great year, you usually have to have a little luck along the way, and certainly you have to have some injury luck. And but I think that certainly everything is in place for this to be a really good year for Auburn football coming up.
Well, obviously, it's difficult to tell really anything from a spring game, the A-Day game, but obviously we know what we can expect from Nick Marshall. We have a great idea what we're going to get out of the offensive line, the running back position, even the receiving core. But there are still maybe some questions defensively. Where do you see the biggest question marks for this team next year, and where they maybe need to improve the most?
Well, I think that I don't know if I would talk about need to improve. Just need to figure out exactly where they are and what they're going to do. Is when Josh Hosley gets back, is he going to play cornerback? Is he going to play safety? That's a big question. Not necessarily a bad question. I mean, but where he plays depends on where other people play. Derek Moncrief, a junior college transfer, had a really, really terrific spring, and which may make it possible to play Josh Hosley at the boundary cornerback, in which case you could move Jonathan Mincy back to the field cornerback, which is where he's played last year. And the boundary cornerback is plays a little more physical role, a little more against the run, and Josh Hosley might be a little bit better suited than that because he's a little bigger. But if they decide they need Hosley at safety, then I think you'll see Mincy stay at that corner, and Jonathan Johnson would probably be the next guy at the field corner, and he was hurt a lot in the spring. But another guy that's going to be a factor at cornerback regardless of what they do, it looks like, is Trovon Reed, who moved from wide receiver before the spring, and I think really surprised a lot of people. If I was going to say there was one really pleasant surprise in the spring, it would probably be how quickly Trovon Reed took to playing cornerback.
Well, Sonny Galloway, Auburn goes out and hires Sonny Galloway, a proven head coach for the baseball program, really had kind of settled into mediocrity for about a decade, and he comes in with a proven track record, but we've come to find out that he is a different animal. He really says what he thinks, and he will answer a question if it is asked. Do you think Auburn people are going to be able to get used to his demeanor?
Well, I think that they will if he wins. That's kind of the way it is with any coach. Sonny's they played very well the last 3 weeks, even though they haven't had that much to show for it before this past weekend. But winning 2 out of 3 at Arkansas was big, though they could easily have swept. And they've had Arkansas's number really. Well, that's the 5th straight year they've beaten Arkansas, which is kind kind of strange considering where Auburn baseball has been and where Arkansas baseball has been. But this is a huge weekend coming up against Mississippi State. They really to put themselves in decent position. They need to win 6 games out of their last 9 in the SEC, which is Mississippi State here, and then at Kentucky, and then LSU here. So that'll be a tall order, but not impossible. And but it's, this is the most this weekend coming up against Mississippi State. It's only, I believe, 1 game ahead of them in the standings. So this is really big weekend for Auburn baseball and Sonny Galloway's first season.
Yeah, it seems like Auburn is 1 strikeout or 1 clutch hit away from really having an outstanding season, maybe even being 12-9 or even 13-8 in the league instead of 9-12.
Well, I would think that probably, and I don't want to speak for Sonny Galloway or anybody else, but I mean after going through a lot of different rotations on the pitcher's mound, they're back to where they were at the start of the season, which is with it being Dylan Ortman and Michael O'Deal and Keegan Thompson. Though I guess at the start of the season, Keegan Thompson was on Sunday and Michael O'Neal was on Saturday, and with Terrence Diedrich as the closer. But they've in the process of getting there, they've tried several different combinations, and some of them haven't worked. And I think they're back where they need to be now, pitching wise. They've certainly pitched well enough in recent weeks to win. They haven't always scored enough runs to win, and that's going to be the key, is keep pitching like that and start scoring a few more runs. If they do, if they can get in the regional, they'll have a real shot because of their pitching staff. They got good depth, and they got guys that have proved they can do it at this level, and they'll have a chance, but they got to get there first.
Auburn goes out and hires another coach this past offseason, Clint Myers. Obviously, he is probably, in my opinion, he's probably got the best resume of any coach Auburn's ever hired in its history. He just phenomenal at what he's done in his career. Having watched this program, and it's been a great year. Obviously, they had a stretch where they really struggled, but what can you pinpoint to anything? What does he do differently? What that separates him and makes him such an incredible coach?
Well, first, they did go through a stretch where they really struggled, but they lost just about every one of those games was a 1-run game, and the Auburn, he seems to have changed the entire culture of Auburn softball. They are much more aggressive than they've ever been. They never seem to get rattled. I mean, in the Friday night game against Texas A&M, they were behind, I think, 6-2, coming to bat in the bottom of the 7th inning and hit a grand slam, and then hit it to tie it, the solo homer, and win it. And they've been doing stuff like that all year long. They've just obliterated the school record for home runs, and so it's, Coach Myers, his sons who are on his staff they've obviously done a great job of teaching these young ladies how to play the game and instilling confidence in them that they can play the game and that they can beat anybody. And even like I said, in that losing streak, in the middle of that losing streak, they went to Florida and got swept, got beat by 1 run 3 times, and that's a great team. So. Nothing this softball team does would surprise me, that they could go a long way. And as you said, I think that you're probably right, that Clint Meyer is probably the most accomplished coach Auburn's ever hired in any sport.
Well, sad news over the weekend. Auburn legend David Langner passed away at age 62, losing his battle with cancer. It really can't be, I don't think, overestimated the impact that one play in 1972 had on the Auburn culture. Just give us some of your memories or thoughts about David Langner.
Well, David was a good friend, and I was a quite young reporter during the 1972 season, really about the same age as the older guys on that team, and got to know a lot of them very, very well and they're still, I have a lot of good friends to this day on that team. And as I said, David was one of them. He was a tough, hard-nosed football player. Didn't mind mixing it up on the field. Sometimes didn't mind mixing it up off the field. But he, as the years went on, he became quite a gentleman, and I say he became a great person. I'm not saying he was never not a great person, but he really made a lot of friends and loved Auburn University and loved the football program. And last time I saw him was at the scrimmage in early April when the Lettermen were invited to come back, and that was the first indication really that I had that he was in bad shape. And and I got the news from a mutual friend that he had died, and I was very saddened by that. And but you're right, that play and his part in that play will live forever as long as Auburn plays football.
Do you have any memories of him that stick out besides that play in the Iron Bowl in 1972?
Well, again, just how tough he was, just sort of tough, hard-nosed football player he was, and not afraid of anything. He was not a big guy at all. He was small by the standards of 1972, which are different than now. But he was fearless. I can't think of any one specific thing. I just and the times I've visited with him over the years, like I said, the last time being at that scrimmage, and before that at the reunion for the 1972 team, he's just a really good guy, really loyal guy to his teammates. That team is very special. They're still very close to this day. Now, 42 years later, they're still very close to each other to this day, and they were all very deeply affected by David's passing. Though I think that in the end it was fairly well known that it was imminent. But he made a great impression, did a lot of good things for Auburn, and he'll be missed.
Phillip Marshall works for AuburnTigers.com. He and Charles Goldberg do an outstanding job disseminating information and putting their spin on the Auburn athletics as they see it. You do an outstanding job, Phillip. We can't thank you enough for being a part of Sports Call today.
All right, glad to do it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.